Good morning, all. Hello and welcome back to Granted Gardens. My name is Melissa, and this week is a good week.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here.
So this weekend is the unforgettable date of May 15th, and the reason why that's so unforgettable is because that is usually our start date to start planting stuff outside. We live in Frederick, Maryland area, and we typically wait till May 15th to start putting things out just because our weather can be so unpredictable up until that point. Usually come May 15th, there's no question about whether or not it's going to get too cold at night. However, we just had a low 30s night a few nights ago, so a little different this year. We're really kind of teetering on the edge, but we are crossing our fingers and hoping that that was the last super cold night. As far as the forecast goes, it looks like the nights are going to start going up into the low 50s, so that's a pretty safe place for us to start bringing our plants out. I've been hardening off our plants throughout this past week so that they're kind of getting used to the temperatures. Basically, all that means is I just bring them out for a few hours every single day. And every day I add an hour or so to how long they sit outside. So that's what you guys see here is the setup for them coming out. Now, a few things that we did differently this year is obviously the majorities are not up potted. They're still in their little tiny cells. So we actually started our seeds later than we usually do this year. There's been some years where we've started stuff in February, and that was way too early, and we had to up pot a few times, which is putting them into bigger containers. So starting in these little seed cells is usually where you start by germinating your seeds, but once the plants get yay high with a few leaves on them, typically you want to up pot them. You want to put them into a larger container, and depending on how long you have to wait until you can put them outside, you may need to put them into 2 or 3 different size containers. That year when we started our seeds in January, I think we up potted twice. So usually we'll move from the seed cell trays up into a red solo cup has been kind of our gig. But that year I think we had tomato plants that were almost 3 or 4 feet tall, and that ended up I think being in buckets. So that was a crazy year. This year we waited much later. I can't even really remember. I want to say March is when we started most of our seeds, which I think is fairly normal, but we did not up pot anything. Majority of it doesn't really look like it needed to be. It looks like it's doing just fine. We're going to be able to transfer it from the seed starting trays into the ground, I think, without a problem. However, some of the other things died off, like my peas. My peas did not make it. They're all dead, which I'm really sad about. But to be honest with you, I think maybe I should just start direct sowing seeds for my peas into the ground. Anyways, what are you doing, crazy dog? So, lesson learned at that point. There really is no reason for us to start our peas in seed trays. They do just fine just direct sowing them. They can handle a little bit of cold. So I think I learned my lesson this year. Let's not waste space or dirt doing that. So I'm not planting these today. They're still hardening off for a few more days, but I am super excited to just be outside and about in all of this beautiful weather. So some things that I do have on the docket today. I need to get my plants that I got from the plant swap in the ground. So a few videos back, I had showed you guys kind of this little nook space that I wanted to work on and improve so that it's in usable condition behind the chicken coop here. I've done some work and I want to show you guys what it looks like. This is probably my favorite project so far this year. So I threw some mulch down in here. My mom actually helped me find this really cute bench, which actually is a lot more sturdy than the bench that we had back here. The bench that we did have back here was just on the verge of breaking. And what's really nice is you've got these little planters on either side. So I am trying to figure out what I want to do to plant in there. But as I mentioned before, I just love this space. I just love being able to come back here and hang out with the chickens. And it's just so peaceful and quiet, and it's kind of, you know, you can see the yard, but it's kind of a little away spot. The chickens are all the way in the corner, but it gives you a nice little glimpse of the yard. So I'm happy with the bench. I'm excited for this little space. It'll be fun and quaint to get away to. Now I need to figure out what I'm doing with these plants from the plant swap. Need to find some spaces. So Tyler opened up his bananas and used the bedding that we had in there to like line this walkway, and I think it's so pretty. Feels beachy. So for my first couple plants from the plant swap, we are gonna go ahead and start some stuff back here in the woods because I have hope and faith. Look at the honeysuckle. I worked with you guys on this tree, on cleaning out underneath of it, and I showed you guys pictures of it, videos of it not that long ago, and we have flowers! And it smells heavenly. Look at this. Couple more days we come back here and harvest them. Most of them aren't open yet, but we'll come back and harvest them and make some good old honeysuckle wine, maybe some jelly. It'd be delicious. Okay, so I try to be very aware when I'm back here because number one, we definitely share this space with critters, and number two, we share this space with poisonous plants. So for those of you that are not familiar, this is our back area. This is like our wooded area. Our property goes like quite a distance back that way as well, but this area was actually cleared out by the power company many years ago at this point. And so I was determined to use this space as much as possible. And over the last 2 or 3 years, we have added garden beds back here. We've tried planting stuff, we've failed epically. And so I'm like kind of still in this stage, can't get good lighting here. I'm kind of still in this stage of like trying to discover something that will work back here. So today, we're going to try a couple more plants. This here I got from the plant swap. This, I believe, is called a woodland sunflower. Woodland sunflower, or forest sunflower, some people call them. The concept is that it's supposed to do halfway decent in part shade, part sun kind of situation. So I want to get him back here and see how he does. And then I also have some St. John's wort bushing variety that I want to put back here. I kind of started putting herbs back here, and I guess I'm gonna just keep going with it. So one of the larger problems is that there's obviously a lot of plant life back here. So monitoring plants or weeds, for lack of a better word, and making sure that they don't take over your spaces is virtually impossible. Now what we did do a couple years ago is we put down weed fabric, which is working very, very well in the enclosed sections of the gardens that we put back here. So we have this little one behind me, and then we have a bigger one over here. Now, a couple months ago, I kind of started clearing out this section, which borders our neighbor's yard as well. And I guess I kind of wanted to see what I was going to do over here. Initially, there's a lot of blackberry bushes that just grow wild in this section, so I was trying to just clear out the underbrush so that they kind of had a chance to thrive. But the wildlife that lives back here is definitely going to get to these berries before we do, because they're not in a closed space. So my thought was to dig up some of these blackberries and plant them in the small bed over here that's enclosed, along with some of our elderberries that we started from cuttings. So that's where we're at. So this area right here, I think this is where I'm gonna try and put that woodland sunflower and see how it does. It'll be pretty at the very least. Now it does say that they're tubers, so they're gonna spread. So I need to be sure that I'm not planning on doing anything with this section, but I'm really not. I really don't think I am. All right, so I think I'm gonna kind of try and keep them over here on the edge of kind of what we have sectioned off here, just so that it'll be easier for me to maintain them, or at least try and weed out around them. We are gonna have a lot of weeds that grow in here, so I don't want them to get smothered out. So I think I'm gonna just try and put them right here on the edge so that they're easy to get to. I really don't have a plan for this. I rarely have a plan for when I get plants from the plant swap. And there she be. So we'll see how that pans out. So I would kind of like to have a like catch-all herb garden that has plenty of space to roam. That would be my goal. I would love to do that. The only problem is though, is here is, you know, the weeds and stuff that take over, they're gonna crowd everything out. So I'm thinking about clearing out a space and turning it into an herb garden. And this will be, the concept of this, it'll be herbs that'll take over. So the St. John's wort, the comfreys, the mints of the world, and just plant them there and let them go. That would be my goal. Now I did recently learn that mints will cross-pollinate. So you're gonna end up with like different flavors of mints if you plant them next to each other, which kind of stinks, but I think I'm gonna do it. And I'm judging the current situation, like right here looks like a great place to plant herbs. And it kind of makes sense because it's like a corner that's supposed to be a walkway back up to the house here. And then we have the walkway back up to the house that way. So I think right here would be a good spot. There's lots of poison in there. So now we are out in the smaller bed in the backwoods. And so last year what we grew were sunflowers, and they didn't do too good. Obviously there wasn't enough sun. We're still experimenting with the space back here, and we're not entirely sure what direction we're going to go in with it, but every single year we try something until we're going to find something, because I'm telling you we're going to. So this year my game plan was to do elderberries and blackberries here. Now here's my thought process behind that, okay? We have a lot of blackberries that grow wild back here and do fantastic. Obviously the more sunlight that they have, you're probably going to have healthier plants, you're going to have more fruit, so on and so forth. However, we don't have any more space up front. We don't have space. And I really want elderberries. So we purchased elderberry canes and cut them up, and we ended up with something like 20 plants. And they are doing great. So obviously, as you can see, they're doing really, really well. And so the concept here was we were going to take a few, we're going to try and plant them back here and see how they do. We're going to take a couple more and plant them in a really good spot near the house. So it's kind of an experiment. That way, if this fails epically, we at least still have something. But I really want to try it back here. So I've got 4 plants here. I'm going to plant, I think, along the back of this fence line. So we do have weed fabric down here. And then obviously we cut holes in it to plant the sunflowers in it last year. So I'm going to just plant in the same holes, hopefully. That way I don't have to put more holes in the weed fabric, because the weed fabric is obviously doing its job back here, which is nice. Kind of hard to see because they're little, but I got them planted. Hopefully this pans out. And I need to go and wash really well, scrub my arms, just in case I got touched anything poisonous. So the next step back here is going to be to set up our rain barrel so that we can water stuff back here without having to lug buckets, which is a big pain in the butt. So we do actually have a rain barrel. We had it set up last year. We hadn't perfected it yet, but it was at least working. It was functional. So I'm gonna probably set that up, just a quick setup here, and then once Tyler has a chance to address it, he'll probably make it work better. We are actually supposed to get some rain in the next few days, so hopefully it'll be enough for me to just take care of them for the time being, because I don't want to lug buckets out here. Well, that's a wrap for this video. I probably will shoot more videos today, but I'm not sure what direction we're going in yet, and I need to take a break. So that was a pretty good kind of overview of, I guess, the new concept of what the woods are going to look like this year. It's a different concept every year. And so there's my perspective this year. We'll see how it goes. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.